Well, here we are making a video again, and this time I'm lucky I got my friend Brian here drop by, and so then thanks for coming over, Brian.
It's a pleasure. I didn't have to come far.
Oh yeah, right. But anyhow, we live here, but with this COVID business, you can't travel. Maybe you can, or maybe you can't. Anyhow, you got me just when I was wanting to ask some questions to our viewers, and I want to ask some very simple questions. So then, well, I'll just take off and do it. So the first question I'm going to ask is like, how does the world change? And I'm not looking for this very involved answer. I'm just going to say, people do something different. Whoa! How does the world change? People do something different. How do you do something different? Well, you change your mind. Okay. Change your mind. Wow. How do you do that? So then that's the other question. How do you change your mind? Okay, you decide that what you thought before is no longer true. Or maybe it was never true. Or it's no longer applicable, the way you see things now. And so I'm trying to take the simplistic view here and try to take all the complications out of life. Just do something different. And then how do you do something different? You decide that what you believed is no longer true. And then I guess you can ask, how do you decide that what you believed is no longer true? But that's where we're getting into, right? We're not going to resolve this today, but we're gonna try to point toward a method. And what could that method be? You got any ideas?
How to change the mind.
How to change your mind, right? How do you do it? Well, I mean, how do you change your beliefs? Because I said you find out beliefs that you thought were true, and then now you're having doubt about it.
I think you have to first of all, because I'm coming from a metaphysical, astrological, and astrotheological background, you're going to get that take on my answers.
Ah, yeah.
So first of all, you have to try and understand how the mind was programmed initially, how the thinking beliefs of the individual became there in the first place. So the majority of people are programmed from a very early age by their surroundings and the influences which go on around them. As their brain develops, the mind starts off, the baby's mind grows towards the mature mind from the infant. It separates as it matures to two different hemispheres. You have the left and the right hemisphere. But before the age of 6 or 7, these hemispheres work in unison, giving the child's perspective on their reality. This is the formative years of a child's development, when it acts as a sponge, absorbing all the emotions and everything that goes on around them, which programs their initial belief system.
Let me ask a question then. Could we talk about like what's the mechanism of the separation? You say the brain, in other words, a young child has a very simple life, and somehow everything is one. Or I mean, it's just all, this is it, this is life, this is unison or something like that. And they don't have to look at things in different particular ways. But then what's going to cause them to do that? Now, it might be their training from their parents that persuade them that no, you need to analyze this. And so then, is that how it falls into one part of your brain that it's actually your training that splits this brain, or is it a natural process?
Well, the majority of the adults population, they have different aspects of consciousness. They have the sole focal awareness consciousness, which is what you focus on, your immediate awareness. This is your soul consciousness. Your spirit consciousness is the subconscious. It's tethered to a greater realm of past, present, and future. And that part of the brain is far superior in size than the focal consciousness. Call it the soul. And in astrology, different planets have a different influence on your consciousness. For instance, the sun has an influence on the energy and the proactiveness of the soul consciousness, the focal awareness. So when the sun comes up in the morning, the soul comes up in the morning. We wake up from slumber into soul awareness. We get out of bed and we stand on the ground with the soles of our feet. We are now in soul awareness, focal attention. This is where the mind is at any one particular moment. But the greater part of the mind, the subconscious, is tethered to an outer realm of a collective subconscious. It's the spirit realm. And the child's mind works in unison. The focal conscious mind and the subconscious work in unison, which gives it the creative, almost magical outlook on the world that we humans don't have, because when you get to the age of 6 or 7, the brain splits into the two hemispheres. So you have the soul and the spirit splitting and not working in unison.
But wait a sec. Now, are you saying that the two hemispheres have to... Okay, you're calling it the soul and the spirit. Now, as I understand it, the soul, you said, is... let me try to go over what you said and see if I get it right. Is focal awareness. So focal awareness has to do with your five senses, you know. Something appears, and then you focus on it and say, well, what's this? And is it dangerous? And can I do something with it? And so on and so on. So then there's two parts to that. Because one part is that whatever your five senses are looking at is there, or something's there. And the other part is you are interpreting it. And then that interpretation comes not only from your focal awareness, it comes from everything. It comes from all over the place. Now, if I understand what you're saying, the spirit awareness is harder to reach or harder to touch, because it's just like our whole mankind in all its history is somehow balled up into this spirit awareness. In fact, let me share this. You know, I heard just the other day, somebody gave a definition of karma, because I always thought karma, because if you look at it as a law that seems to be external, that's trying to make justice. In other words, you've got bad karma, so then you're going to have bad things happen to you. You've got good karma, so you're going to have good things happen to you. And it looks like it's a law that comes from outside, you know. And then somebody said, no, the karma is like all of these programs that are all distorted, which you would... I think you're calling the spirit awareness. And it comes from 100 generations, you know. It's just a whole mass. And the karma is in each person. In other words, it's not an external thing. It's just part of all this hundreds of generations of programming that somehow just keep being passed down. And so then, what does that sound like?
Different aspects of karma. There's the karma that people are working on in this incarnation. There's also karma that is just kept in the bag on the back of the shoulder for future incarnations. Because each life, you've only got a certain potential of experiences that you could possibly reach.
And how
So
is that? Can you go deeper into that and say why is that? What's the limit on that potential? And could you expand it, or can?
Yeah, the limit is going to be your surroundings, where you are in proximity to everybody else in this earthly plane. You're only going to be able to deal with certain issues because of your relationships and your immediate surroundings.
Okay, now that's a kind of like an external look at it, and I'm sure that is active, but there must be an internal look at it too that says, okay, I have all these belief structures, let's call them unexamined, and maybe some are examined, but they're examined on the basis of the unexamined ones. In other words, you believe that this is how it works, and so therefore this is all that could possibly happen in that circumstances, and that's the limitation of your beliefs, that better solutions don't even show up. You don't even see them because.
But it's only limited. It's only limited if you don't believe in reincarnation.
Yeah.
If there's a greater overall picture towards conscious development of human collective, and reincarnation is part of that puzzle, then if you haven't ticked off one of your karmic bucket lists in this realm, then you'll do it in the next life. You'll come back.
Yeah.
Maybe in somebody else's family and.
No, but that's the kind of thing I kind of tend to want to refute, is like there's a bucket list, like it's got to be this one and that one and this one. No, it's just a whole hodgepodge full of distortions, and all these distortions are going to have you making the wrong decisions, left, right, and center, and so you're going to bump your head on everything, right? And until you can examine those views that you've adopted, and of course unconsciously adopted, because nobody ever put them in front of you and said, choose the blue ones, choose the red ones. It's just there.
From our focal conscious perspective, we can't understand the subconscious level of reality or the consciousness that's associated with the subconscious or the spirit realm. I'll give you an example. When we go to sleep, the focal consciousness settles down and we go into the subconscious. We're on the fringes of the spirit realm, interacting with it. And because it's in past, present, and future tenses, when we wake up back into focal awareness, we try and analyze what we've just experienced in our sleep from the lineal perspective of the constraints of time and space of the physical realm, and we try and view the spiritual realm from that lineal perspective. You can't do it because it's just a hodgepodge of random chaos. You understand?
Well, okay, there's a great assumption there, because you said when you fall asleep, you go out of the focal consciousness and you go into the spirit consciousness. But how about you just drop out, I admit that you have dreams and stuff like that, but just to say, oh, now I'm asleep and I'm in the spirit consciousness, isn't that a great assumption? Okay, sometimes you might be there or might touch it, but just to say you're in it, I don't know.
I'm saying you're dancing on the fringes of it.
Dancing on the fringe, that's really good, In fact, I used to study what they called non-duality, and there was a certain branch of non-duality, and they would say that dreamless sleep was the highest state.
Yeah, because all possibility can take place.
Oh yeah, well anyhow, what's the point of being alive if the highest state is dreamless sleep? I had this idea, let me tell you, as a joke, we'd get one of these guys and somehow we'd sedate him and put him to sleep, and then we'd wake him up, we'd maybe dress him up in, maybe we'd dye his hair and stuff like that, and we'd dress him up and like an old guy, maybe even put makeup on him, and then we'd wake him up and say, oh my God, You've been in dreamless sleep for 93 years. We've kept you going. You've had the most magnificent life of anyone. And now you're just your body's a piece of tissue paper. It's just the next time you sneeze, you'll be dead. But we just wanted to wake you up to make sure you know that you had the best life of anyone on planet Earth. You know? And just see what the guy says, you know? Dreamless sleep, right? Well, those are a lot of assumptions. You know, even rebirth is an assumption, and I don't feel like I need to refute it, because I don't remember that I'm reborn, but I must have been 1,000 times according to the lore. But I don't want to have my whole outlook on life and my methodology of expanding what I can do dependent on accepting various lifetimes for one, and when it happens, well, okay, well, I'll know what to do, or you know, I don't know. Do I have to get prepared now for my next lifetime, or can I live it when I get to it?
Well, it depends. You could prepare yourself for a nasty next lifetime. If you get yourself a AK-47 and go around shooting people now, then you will give yourself some bad karma.
Oh yeah.
You'll alter your equilibrium. Okay,
yeah.
let's go back to the child's mind in order to answer your first question, because the child's mind up to the age of 6 or 7 has been programmed. Its subconscious has been programmed to go from A to B. Okay? And that subconscious is the size of an elephant compared to the focal mind, which is the size of a rat. This is the old expression of Ganesha, the elephant which represents the subconscious riding around on a rat, and the rat represents the focal mind. It's giving you the sense of scale between the two minds. Yeah. Okay, so now the child grows up, its hemispheres split in two, and it develops full focal consciousness, where it can think in logical terms, critical thinking and analysis. It moves away from its old creativity and random chaos with intuition and feelings. It goes more into a left brain awareness. And as it grows up, it develops more wants, needs, and expectations for its future. So instead of going from A to B, it now wants to go from A to Z. So this is running contrary then to its subconscious habitual nature, which it has developed in its formative years. So it needs to change its mind. It's got to change its thinking. But it's okay changing the thinking in the focal mind, the small rat-sized brain mind. It needs to convince the elephant to change tact.
Oh,
it needs to change. It's got to convince the elephant Ganesha, the mover of all obstacles, to move to A to Z. Then
okay, now wait a minute. This is really, okay, here's what I want to say about that, you know. I think to assume that the focal mind can change the spirit mind is way, way beyond anything that could be conceivable, because you only can change what you can put your hands on. Somehow you can manipulate it. And how do you manipulate it? You put language to it. And by definition, the spirit mind, which you're calling, or the subconscious, or you call it the elephant, or it might be a herd of elephants, or it might be planet Uranus. It's so big. It doesn't have to just be an elephant and a rat. And and what we can't touch, we can't measure. And so then, just to say it's an elephant and a rat, well, okay, that's a metaphor that means it's big, but it doesn't mean how big it is. And then, so then, in my way of thinking, in order to change something about I'm just going to call it the subconscious, you have to bring it into the conscious. You have to become conscious of it. And and the only way to become conscious of it, I mean, it's not going to bump you in the head, it's not going to smell with perfume, it's not going to have a color, it's going to have language. You're going to have to put words to it. And then when you put those words to it, and you can see, well, those words don't make any sense whatsoever, you know.
Well, that's
where did I get those words, you know? And who's been pumping those things into me? I don't, you know, that's not me. And then that's your chance. That's your chance to change something.
You see, this is where astrology is so good at explaining cycles, because we always start with Aries in the head, and then we go to Taurus, which is the throat, and then we go to Gemini, which are the hands. So it all starts with the thought. You think of change. Change starts with the thought. And then you turn that into a vocal expression. You speak the change. You vocalize your thoughts. And then you turn them into actions. And then those actions become habits. And then those habits become your destiny. So that first, to change your destiny, you have to change your thinking from a focal conscious perspective. But in order to get it to change your destiny into the habitual subconscious, you have to use repetition, like learning the times tables when you were children. Now you've got that in your subconscious. You don't have to think what 4 times 4 is, or
up to a point. You know, I really like what you say, because you say you're saying some really great things, because you say, you know, it starts with a thought, and then you vocalize that thought, right? And then that goes into action, or it could, because you might vocalize a thought that says no action. I'm afraid. And then if you're repeating that action, that becomes a habit. I like that whole sequence. You know, I mean, I think that it just seems real probable in the way it goes. And then if you really do have a habit, of course, if you really do have a habit, it must be giving you something. It's not just you have a habit of doing something that doesn't touch your life. It must be giving you something that you think is satisfying. And then if that habit becomes such a strong habit, you're saying, okay, now you're going to have a destiny. And of course, if you keep repeating the habit over and over and over again, and sooner or later, you know, you get old, and then after that, you die. So that was your destiny then. And that was your habit. But it wasn't really fixed as a destiny. It was just that for some reason you stopped growing. You stopped doing the A, B, C, having a new thought, if you could have a new thought, vocalizing that thought, and maybe kicking it around with your friends and your family, and then getting together and doing something about it, and then seeing if that would be habitual, if it keeps feeding you, or if it doesn't feed you, go back and go to Aries again. And
this is the problem the smoker has. You see, if you've been smoking for 20 years and you decide to give up, the focal mind says to itself one morning, I'm going to stop smoking. But over the last 20 years, it's been telling the subconscious it loves to smoke. And because the subconscious is such a big, powerful elephant, and it responds to the senses, and it responds to moods, feelings, and emotions, it drives into the heart of the subconscious and creates a garden within the subconscious of seeds which you're planting there and watering. So although your focal mind wants to give up smoking, the elephant loves to smoke. So you've got to change the elephant's mind. So how do you do that? How do you do that?
You're saying you do it with repetition, okay, look.
There's another way.
I'm not so sure that the focal mind, the subconscious mind loves to smoke. I think the focal mind loves to smoke, you know, because you get something out of it. In other words, you got the jitters. I never smoke, so I don't know for sure, you know. You got the jitters. Take a few puffs, and now I'm back to normal, right? So-called normal.
Okay, so we're going to reprogram. We're going to reprogram the subconscious. The best way to do it, you have to put yourself back in the mind of the 6-year-old child, back in those formative years. You have to simulate the mind of the 6-year-old child. Now remember that both hemispheres of the brain were working together in sync. So the best way to do that is, because the left mind operates the right side of the body, and the right mind operates the left side of the body. So to simulate hemisync, you cross your arms and legs, and then you center the mind through meditation. You put yourself in the center of all thoughts, so you're not distracted by extreme thoughts on any perimeter. Center the mind, and then you can start to add mantra, simple, repetitive phrases in the present tense, because the child's mind works in the present tense. The Ganesha works in the present tense. So, and if you keep doing that as a repetition, then or add stimuli to this, stimulate using certain sounds or whatever, lots of different techniques for meditation. But it's basically to reprogram the subconscious with a new belief system, which eventually will change the direction of the Ganesha and the big elephant. So you can just sit on the back of it and let it find a path through the forest for you without you having to struggle. This is how you get to your true potential destiny. This is how any pauper can become king, or anybody can achieve their true ambition.
I'm gonna read something else to our viewers and see how they like it, you know. So I already said, how do you change your mind? So I want to say, how do you see something new? And you're saying that, I don't know what you're saying, because you said that your focal mind wants to quit smoking, so that must be new, you know. But I'm just going to say, how do you find something new? Because before we said, how do you change your mind? So then you have to have something to change your mind too. So then what I'm going to say about how do you find something new, I'm going to say, first you have to find some part of your life that's a bit quieter. So in the quietness, maybe something new will be there. So then it would be great if your most urgent, we could coach you how to be quiet, how to have a quiet mind about your most urgent concern, but I don't think we can. So then I want to say that maybe somewhere in your life it seems to be under control, and you can find a part of your mental life that's a bit quieter. So then in that calmness, pause. And that's what you said, is to center yourself. Well, you can cross your arms and legs and pause too. I'm not against that. Until you can spot some new possibilities. So in that calmness, you can pause. And I'm not going to call it meditation, you know. It's okay to be meditation, but meditation seems like it's something you should do a whole lot of. And so then I'm going to just say, well, pause until you can see some new possibilities. That's enough. And then I'm going to say, finding that your beliefs are untrue is all it takes. And that looking where you're not looking is the method. And so then I'm looking for creating a model that we can work with to see how we can improve the things that we feel are upsetting. And so then there's could be so many models. You know, you can maybe it's behaviorism that you were talking about, is that you could just keep repeating to your subconscious that I don't smoke now. I quit smoking already today, and you know, speaking in the present. Okay, maybe that's a behaviorism. But anyhow, my thought is that what I'm looking for is an actionable access. What can I grab a hold of? Where's the handle? And an actionable access, to me, is language. So I'm going to try to create a linguistic model. And so whose language? Are you going to look at my language? No. You look at your own language, because your own language is what's got you to where you are now. Maybe it's good. You know, maybe you like where you are now. And we have to acknowledge that there's a lot of good things about it. But what we're trying to go with our linguistic model, we're trying to go somewhere where you can expand your condition now. Go ahead.
Language is the formality of the focal mind. It's the logic reasoning of the focal mind, language.
Yeah, it could be logic or it could be totally distorted, but anyhow, it's still language, right?
Language of the subconscious is emotion. It's more about emotions. So take love, for instance, it's an emotion. We have one word for love. Eskimos have maybe 10 words for snow, even though we have one word for snow. So they can express snow in a greater detail and a greater depth, which then penetrates into the subconscious. But because we don't have many expressions for love, in order to express these subconscious emotions, we're just putting them all in a big pot.
Yeah.
A big container and saying that is it. It's love. It's all love. The love you have for your mother is the same love that you have for your wife,
your child, your cat, your dog, nature.
But, but they're different. They're all different.
Yeah, they could have different words. But I agree that words should be precise, and that we should move to make them more precise, and especially when we need it, and we need it in many places. But I don't know if love is one of them. Okay, you're saying emotion belongs to the subconscious, but I'm not gonna. I guess I'm gonna refute that, because I can't prove it, but I can demonstrate that if you change your language, your emotion will change. And so then, my linguistic model also contains emotion, and it is a way to. I hate the word control, but to manage or to author your emotions. And so that's what I'm really looking to create with a group of people. And I have this idea of how to approach a linguistic model. I have a lot of ideas on words that would be more precise, give more precision to this linguistic model, and ways to actionable precepts. In other words, actionable access to where we get confused and where we keep repeating things that don't work. And that's kind of what I want to introduce both today and maybe in our tomorrows, and see if we can gather a group of people that want to talk about these things. And the details would be that we would be in an email group, and then we would discuss. And it would be our private group. And so then, what do you think? Are we going to get any takers for something like that?
We'll have to see. We'll have to see. But going back to this meditation, because meditation is a great way to influence the subconscious with your thoughts and with your words. Meditation. The word meditation is is middle, like Mediterranean is the Middle Sea. Mediocrity is the middle of something. So it's to center, to put your mind in the middle of all this chaos. An Asian is an action. It's to do, the action of centering the mind. Now, if you do meditation in tune with nature's rhythms and cycles of the moon, if you follow moon cycles like monks do, monks are called monks because they're moon watchers, they're moons. They go to the monastery, they shave their heads to look like the moon, symbolize the moon. and they follow the moon cycles and meditate, because their ancestors have taught them all this incredible knowledge of how powerful it is to center the mind in stillness and then introduce mantra into the mind and repeating it, and it alters then the subconscious belief system. So you can then change your perspective on the world from within.
Okay,
So
let me go on that a little bit, because that's pretty clear that you can change it, and that it's done by being in a centered state, and then you can do mantra. Mantra will keep putting in certain vibrations and certain ideas, and then somehow these will take hold. Now, the meditation that I know, or so many people that meditate that I know, their meditation, they might use a mantra to get into it, but I don't think they're using a mantra to, and maybe the vibrations of that mantra are important, and maybe they even hold some kind of a mudra, which is like positions or hands, energy flows and different things. But the main thing is to separate from running thought patterns, and usually these running thought patterns are all our emergencies, and we're identified. We think, oh, all these emergencies, that's me. I gotta handle all these things, or things are getting worse and worse. And then this meditation, when those things quiet down by this centering technique, which could be mudras and mantras and sitting and music and so many things, then you say, whoa, wait a minute, they're gone now, but I'm still here. That's a real discovery. Wow, I'm still here, and those guys, where are all my problems? Where did they go? You stop meditating and they come back, of course, and so then you know that they're around the corner. But anyhow, that's the huge benefit of meditation, in my view, that you find out that that's not you. Your thought patterns are not you. Now, it doesn't really tell you what you are. And you're going to have. Tell me.
You're just doing half the meditation technique. You've got to synchronize it with the moon cycles, because a new moon is the start of nature's cycle. It's the beginning of a new cycle, and an opportunity to tune oneself in to your subconscious, because the moon represents the subconscious, whereas the sun, the soul, represents the focal awareness, which is the soul.
Yeah.
So we have the new moon cycle is similar to the female menstrual cycle. It takes 28 days to go round. And they shed off the old habits. And then, at this time, you've got to start pumping the mantra in.
Oh, yeah.
To start the new belief system. And then after 14 days, the egg will appear. That's when you've got the full moon shining a light into the physical reality of your new belief system, which you are impressed into the subconscious elephant.
Well, you see, like most of the mantras I know, they're in Sanskrit, and it's not telling. Maybe it is even telling you like the Buddhist noble truths or something like that, but still you don't understand it. And I don't know if you're talking about an English mantra saying, "I'm not smoking anymore. I'm not smoking. I don't drink alcohol. I'm not interested in alcohol." Is that a mantra?
Do whatever suits you. Do whatever suits you, because every word sets in motion a vibration of emotion. If I say the word love to you, you have an emotional attachment to that word. But if I say murder, then that's a completely different emotional vibration from that word, and that's how it seeps into the subconscious. That's the language of the subconscious, the emotion, attachment to the word.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of my little verbal model, because I can re-story murder, I can re-story love, and then when you hear that word, it'll be a different emotion. Now, it's not my goal to erase that emotion or just be a white slate or be neutral type of a person, but like what I was talking about before, actionable access. Now, where can I grab a hold of my life and change some things? And so then that's what I'm driving at. Regarding the moon, some things about the moon I think are really important, you know. And I think what you brought up, the fact that the menstrual cycle is 28 days, the moon is 28 days, somehow the moon is connected to humanity, and if that connection ever breaks, well, the human being will be sterile, and then in 40 or 50 years, gradually, no children, and
Yes.
that it will just die out. Like we'll be extinct. We'll be extinct if the moon somehow is not part of our life, and then. But the part I don't really understand is this, you know, women menstruate every day. Another, you know, not yet every one, but each woman has a 28-day cycle, but starting in one place. And okay, the moon has got two places to be. It's either between the sun and the earth, or it is outside of the earth, you know, where the earth is between the sun and the moon. So then in one case, we can see the moon because the sun shines on it and we get the reflection. And in the other case, the sun shines behind it and it shines in our eyes, so we don't really see it. So then we say that's a new moon, but it's just up there the same. The tides are going the same. There may be even, I think even logically, the tides are stronger when the moon is new because then it's lined up with the sun and not opposing the sun.
Yeah.
So
But
then
the sun
how
don't-
is it that, you know, just because light reflects in one part and doesn't reflect in another part, and when it's on the side you got a half moon, I mean, how does that have any meaning? The moon, the power of the moon is there.
But it's also the power of the sun, shedding its light and then coming back, reflecting upon you as a biological transmitter-receiver of this information. See, the sun is part of the energy source behind your soul consciousness. So when it throws light out and bounces off the moon, it's mixing the focal consciousness in tune with the subconscious in this physical plane. Whereas the new moon, the dark moon, that's the time of the most heightened subconscious cycle. That's when you can become close to your subconscious and influence it with new mantra and new possibilities. Now, the moon has always been synonymous in our ancient past, in religions and in astrology and mythology, with water, the water god. It's the feminine, the water. So it's no coincidence that the human body is made up of 70% water and 30% flesh. The earth, 70% water on the surface and 30% land. And the universe, it has dark matter and light matter. Dark matter is 70% and light matter is 30%. So I would suggest that the ratio between the focal mind and the subconscious is the same. The subconscious is 70% of the mind's capacity, whereas the focal mind is 30%. So instead of the Ganesha being on a rat, it's been more like being on a dog.
Oh, yeah. I was reading something just lately, maybe today I was actually rereading it. And so then these are neurobiologists, neuroscientists, and they examine nerve paths. And so then they say, okay, well, and then they say about the brain, right? Certain areas are the prefrontal lobes are for thinking and deciding, and then, well, you already said that the left brain works the right side and the right brain works the left side. Okay. So anyhow, they can look at the optic nerve, and it goes to a certain part of the brain. And so then they check that part of the brain out, and they say, okay, how much of this optic nerve is coming in here? And they realize, oh my gosh, there's like they used 80-20 also, or 80-20. They said 20% of the nerve pathways, synapses, come from the optic nerve, 80% come from memory. So that they're suggesting that even viewing something by vision is 80% memory, because that's where all the nerves come from. And so then it's your recognition. So then you're pre-programming, and I don't really want to say that the subconscious is 70%. I want to say it's 7,000% or 7 million%, right? It's we have no way to measure it. It's just
That's right. You've got no way to measure it.
It's infinite.
And
so then all we want to do is take one little bit of it that we can somehow grasp and put it into our focal consciousness, and then examine it, and then see, well, that's good for today. Maybe tomorrow I'll find another part of it. And that's the practicality of it, right? Just
yeah. It's more or less impossible to measure it.
More or less? Come on, it's totally impossible to measure what you don't see.
Good. They're guessing. So let's use nature. Nature can tell you the answers. 70% water, 70% water of the earth. It's giving you a clue there, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's giving a clue if you're using that metaphor, and if somehow you believe in that metaphor. Now, I don't know. I like to question what I believe and not just take on more beliefs. So then, and I don't know if I want to go there. So, well, anyhow, I think there's so many things to talk about. I think we're going to have to make some more sessions. But I'll just repeat that this is kind of like an invitation to consider forming a group. And there is no group now, and I'm going to put some things that we talked about today as a download in the description of this video, and then I'm going to put my email there. If it sounds interesting or you want more information, we'll make another video, and then we'll stay on focus, and we'll talk more about the group maybe, and then we'll talk more about the what we call actionable access to how you can reach distortions in your belief system. And the distortions, what are those? They're things that make you, they're perceptual limitations, where constraints, where you think that this is all you can do now, this is the best we can do, and this is the way it works. And then if somehow you could see that that's actually wider than that, there could be more options. And so then those more options, well, looking at the world needs lots more options, and the international situation and so on. But we're not really going there, because what we're up to is to try to prove the system. In other words, like, let's just see what our options are for me. And you, Brian over there, I'm not going to try to change him. That's up to him. I might try to coax him into joining, but that's his deal, So I'm just going to look at me. And so then the point is, if I get good at it, I'll really gain a confidence, and then I'll be empowered, because that confidence will show me, hey, if I say something, it can come true, because well, that's my basic integrity, and that's all these things are what we're going to talk about, integrity and authenticity, and being the cause of the matter, because we're so often offloading the matter to say, well, even Brian saying, okay, well, the moon wasn't right, we were doing it the wrong cycle, but I mean, mostly we're offloading onto other people and other nations and saying, oh, this guy did this and that, We can give excuses, but not performance, And so then, in order to give performance, of course we have to have action, but we have to talk about it, and that's what I want to do. So, I don't know. What do you think? Is that well said for today, Brian? We could close it now.
Yeah, well said. A very good introduction to this series.
Yeah, it's only a theory. I'm not talking any truths. Hey, I'm not even trying to prove they're true. I'm just trying to say that actionable access, and I want to demonstrate it. And if it doesn't demonstrate, well, we'll have to change it or we'll have to scrap it. I don't know.
I can give you some links to some videos that I've produced which discuss these moon cycles and meditation from a metaphysical perspective. I'll add those to your links.
Yeah. Okay, I think those will be good, but for sure we'll be talking more because I like the moon cycle and I want the women to keep being in sync with the moon or otherwise humanity goes extinct. And so I want to talk about a lot of things like that.
It's the moon that changes their moods. That's where the word mood comes from. It's
moon
the moon,
huh?
Because it's the fastest moving celestial body outside the Earth. So as it moves around, so
the fact that it's the
changes.
fastest moving, I think, means it's the one that's most interactive with us and the most power.
It transits their natural disposition from their natal birth chart position of their planets, and as it moves around, it alters their moods.
Yeah. Well, mood to me is about emotion, and it's about how you explain your life to yourself. And it also might be the moon too. I don't know, but I know that if you explain your life in a different way, your emotions will change, and also your mood will change. And you might just decide that having a mood is counterproductive, and screw it, I'm not going to have them anymore. And you could just dump them as they come. The whole trick about life, one of the big tricks about life is, okay, there's two tricks about life. One is you find yourself in some situation and you got to figure out how to put it down. And the other one is you see there's a temptation. Oh, I should think about this. Oh, I should have this emotion. And you don't pick it up. And these are all things we're going to talk about. So is that enough for today, Bri? I don't
Fantastic.
know. I think we'll say goodbye, huh?
Yeah, I've enjoyed the discussion. Very good.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for coming by. And I'm sure we'll do it again and often. Okay. So.
ขอบคุณครับ
Okay. Bye for now.